So who are you?
How do you? Hi, I'm Vineet. I'm this founder of Teleport Me, and what we do is we actually have a panorama application on the Android phone that lets you take panoramas using your phone.
And that's what made that image behind you.
Yeah, this is one of our panoramas uploaded, I think, an hour back. So yeah, so you could upload it and you can see it in the when you're in the website there.
Yeah, and you can put them on Facebook.
Yeah, all that stuff you can share.
Twitter
So
and stuff like that.
one cool thing about our application is that we have our internal social network.
Yeah.
So it's like Instagram, but I mean that's what GigaOM called it, Instagram for panoramas, because we have a very active social network within the app itself, and it's pretty incredible the amount of likes you get as soon as you post your.
Yeah.
I think we have an average of like 4 likes per panorama.
Wow.
Which is pretty impressive. I mean, considering that, the number of people taking panoramas is such a small section of the number of people taking photographs.
Yeah. Now you have competitors on the iPhone side.
Yep.
You're not an iPhone app. You're only on Android.
Only on Android. Yep.
But it's very similar things to PhotoSynth or 360 app on the iPhone.
Yep.
That's sort of why I ignored you, because I'm mostly an iPhone guy,
Yep.
but I wanted to see what was going on the Android side, because I think Android is starting to really take over.
Take it over.
Trying to get unavoidable to look at the market share numbers and the new phones that are coming out.
Very
the
good.
Nexus Prime and the Galaxy S2 that I just had are really good cameras in them.
Very good.
8
Very good
megapixel.
phones. Yep.
So how does this stuff work? Because panorama, you take the phone and you do this, and it grabs images
Yep.
and stitches them all together.
Yeah. So currently,
I'll get a demo and we'll
we'll
overlay that. Yeah.
Yeah, but the application right now captures frames. So the reason why we capture frames, especially on the Android phone, is that the camera API doesn't take photographs that quickly as the way iPhone does. But the good thing is with the ice cream sandwich, I don't know if you saw the presentation, but
Yeah.
they showed how quickly you can take images. So that's going to change. So we take frames, through the video stream, and then sort of club them together.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So when you're holding up the camera and going like this, it's actually capturing a video, or what's
Yeah,
it doing?
it's capturing frames of the video, and then it's capturing sensor values based on those frames, and then using those sensor values and sort of merging them.
A lot of math.
A lot of math, yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of math, yeah. And
is-
especially if you want to make it work on a device that is technically a smartphone, but actually the specs are for a dumb phone.
Yeah.
It's difficult.
Yeah, because Android, iPhone is easy because there's one sensor,
Yep.
or maybe two, and one GPU, and it all works the same, and you don't have to worry that the hardware is different.
Exactly.
On Android, you have everything from a really nice phone like an S2 down to some crappy little
Wildfire,
cheap,
which is what I have. Yeah.
something phone, and so how do you have to deal with that? Because you stitching off of different sensors and different GPS reliable, the reliability of this data isn't
Sure.
all that great, right?
Yeah, so I think that's one of the reasons why we are doing well based on the Android phones, because we are able to use software to circumvent all of these things and make it more efficient. Like even though we should depend on a lot of these values, we try not to depend on them and use software for computation. And it was
What's the software looking at? How many images make up a panorama, by the way?
It depends on how big you want the panorama, right? So
Yeah.
if you're taking a complete 360, then I think it's maybe about 13 images frames.
Okay.
And then again, that depends on how fast or how slow you're moving.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that is unique about what we're doing. And today, if we port our application into the iPhone, I think it's going to be pretty phenomenal. Because when we did it initially itself, it was comparable to the current applications, and then given the optimizations we have done so that it works on Android, I think it's going to be pretty phenomenal when we put it on the iPhone.
And the iPhone got faster too with the 4S.
Yep, and much better camera.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how do you? So you stitch these together and you get an image that looks looks like that. Now it has a rough top and a rough bottom, right? Can you crop those out, or you can just zoom in and?
Well, I mean, you can zoom in. I don't know how to use this for
Just
zooming. Oh,
yeah,
all right.
yeah.
So
Just touch it.
all right.
It's one of the new touch mouses.
Okay. So yeah, you can zoom in and zoom out. So the cropping part, I think you're right. I think this is quite smooth. It's not that rough. I think the down part is rough. Yeah, you can crop it if that's your question. Yes.
Yeah.
You can do that. But we typically don't do it because if you look at the resolution of the images that come out from an Android device, is very small. So we tend to give them the entire photograph so that
Yeah.
it's the resolution wise, it's pretty good.
Yeah. How are you gonna make money with this? Yeah, because it's not apparent. It's a free app, right?
It is a free app. It is a free app.
Yeah.
So we have a couple
You
of
put Coca-Cola ads in there.
no. So this is sort of our first step into what we actually plan to do. The idea and the name Teleport Me sort of represents the idea of being able to look at places when and where you want, right? So right now you have applications that say, for example, I saw one of your interviews with forgot the name of the company, Romsey or
Yeah.
Romy,
Roams or
the Australian
Romy.
company.
Roams.
Roms,
Yeah.
So
Or
their
Roams,
idea
yeah.
of sort of picking a place and then looking at the stream there,
Yeah.
right? So the one thing that we thought was that's cool, I mean, but if you look at the complexity and what is going to happen next, because today you have billions and billions of geotagged images,
Yeah.
right? And nobody's doing anything about it, only simply because everyone is running behind getting apps that integrate Twitter and Foursquare, whereas the real value of a place is the way a place looks like, right?
Yeah.
And the one thing that captures it is a photograph. So if we're able to harness that rather than a tweet written about that place, right? That is of a lot of value than a tweet that was written at some time at some place.
Yeah.
So that is sort of what we are going at, and we have pretty much built the entire thing, and then we had to scale back because we just thought that if we push out the entire product at one go, it may be too overwhelming. So
Yeah.
we started off with the app, and then we are slowly rolling in the features to.
So when you take a panorama in the future, what is it going to do? Is it going to build a wireframe of the buildings, or is
No,
it
so basically, what it would do, you don't even have to.
Because in some places, like the Golden Gate Bridge, there's hundreds of panoramics,
Yeah.
right? People take them all the time.
Yep.
And are you going to stitch those together? What
So
are you gonna do?
what we do is so we create something called waypoints. So waypoints basically, and I'll show it to you later on, is waypoints let you move from image to image and panorama to panorama based on its orientation, right? So for example, if there's an image taken here and then there's an image taken there, I could view the image from here and move through your entire thing using that. And that is it's not trivial, but if you put your mind at it, you can do it. And there is a lot of images out there that can let you create that kind of experience. So
does it work visually? Like if I have the Golden Gate Bridge in this one, and then I go over here and do another one, and there's a Golden Gate Bridge,
yep.
Does it connect them visually, or does it connect them just because?
It does two things. So one is it takes your geotag,
okay,
and then it connects it visually. So with the geotag, you have something called bounds, and then what you do is you take a bound of, say, the Golden Gate Bridge is in a bound of this much, right? So we know that, and we have I think maybe like the 4th largest database of places. No one knows about it, but we do, right? And so what we do is we have these bounds. So we take all these images within a bound that have some reference either visually or by name that says Golden Gate Bridge, get them together, then run our sort of image to image matching algorithm, and that forms that sort of visual thing. And it need not be a 3D representation, but it is a way for you to navigating through a place.
Yeah.
So
that's gonna be interesting.
Yep.
And you do that in, like with a museum or something?
Anything.
Yeah.
Anything. Absolutely anything.
Okay.
And people do not know how many geotags. It's a ridiculous amount of geotag photos out there.
Oh yeah.
I mean Flickr itself is just like.
And more coming every day because people are starting to figure out. Well, first of all, they don't know that they turned it on. And the new phones are doing it more and more. Sure. But even then, I'm turning on that stuff so that my photos can become part of the community,
yep.
right?
And, and that's why we're focusing on panoramas, right? Yeah. So typically when you take a panorama, you would not take a panorama of, say, a bottle or a flower or your kids or anything like that. You take a panorama of a place that you want, that you like, and so we are trying to do the filtering by entering a market that by itself filters out, you know, the other sort of noise,
Yeah.
and then we sort of started from there. So we
Interesting.
already have a database about 3-4 billion images, and then we are building our own. So
Wow.
yeah.
Pretty cool. What got you into this? I mean,
So
doing panoramic photography isn't what
well, not
everybody.
panoramic photography, but my co-founder when he was in college, he was really frustrated. So his college is really far away from his house, and his parents couldn't come visit the college. So he created, I'm sure you've seen these real estate virtual tours,
Yeah.
which need a proper camera and a proper software. He didn't have any of those, so he just made one and he used a normal camera and he created a proper virtual tour of his entire college, right, with panoramas and all that. He wrote the entire code from scratch, and that was our first sort of, you know,
Wow.
this is cool, right? And people were spending it. And then we had a lot of colleges come to us and say, why don't you create this for us? And we started creating that as a service. And we realized that, it's not as intuitive as it sounds that, you may want to look at a place before you go. But in the end of the day, I think there is more value with the visual information than, 200 reviews of, say, a restaurant. Right?
Yeah.
You would basically, even if you go to TripAdvisor, you may look at maximum 4 reviews, right? But you would definitely look at the photographs, definitely look at the ambience.
Yeah.
So if there's a better way of showing the ambience, why not?
Yeah.
So
What? Since you're one of the few developers that's almost wholly on Android, what's that like? Because most of the developers I see, start on iPhone and
yeah.
port to Android, and they're trying
We are one of the very rare cases. And it's been so difficult to even find an Android phone in the Silicon Valley because everybody has an iPhone. I have to tell you, it's really, really difficult. Uh, it's interesting. I think there is a lot for Google to do for the Android developers to at least make some money of their market, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I think that is one thing I feel Apple does a phenomenal job of their market and the way you discover applications. The way I think their featured applications is phenomenal. It's a
Yeah.
proper editor who actually goes through it. If you go to the featured app store of Android, it's the same app for like past 6 months, right? Because there's nobody who's curating those lists,
Yeah.
and so I think from a developer perspective, it's definitely challenging, not only to make the application but also any kind of marketing.
Yeah.
Right. So the top apps are always the top apps from the past 1 year. Um, so it's a
Yeah.
challenge.
Apple spreads it around because they know
Apple's
that.
because they make money off it, right? But Google wants to do ads,
Yeah.
so they don't really care whether the developers make any money off it. So,
Well, they also know it's the defensibility of their product. If they have a lot better apps because they've helped get developers
Yep.
paid, da da
Yep.
da, then people know that that's where the best apps are,
Yep.
and the cool kids all still want to buy the iPhone instead of the Android because there's cool apps on there.
I agree. Yeah.
So,
With
and you're one of the cool kids. So, having panoramic photography is one of the things, right? If
Yeah.
you can't do panoramic photography on your phone, you're not cool, right? So,
Yeah. It is one of those applications that actually bring out every part of your smartphone because it uses everything other than the NFC,
Yeah.
But we're planning to use the NFC also in a very interesting way.
Wow.
I'm not gonna say that.
Are you gonna leave little tags all over the world? There's a Y Combinator company that's making stickers with the NFC chip in it, and so you could leave those all over the place, and then do a panoramic and say, "I've been here." Are you funded?
No,
Or
we are completely bootstrapped.
bootstrap. Wow.
Completely bootstrapped. Yeah.
Wow. That's good.
That is good. That is good. I mean, I think we have been always focused. So last time I told you about our last visit when we came here, there's a lot of interest from VCs. We somehow backed out, and it's been an interesting thing to bootstrap. I think once you reach a stage where you're ready to take off, I think that's when you go and you know.
Well, building this new thing also,
Yeah.
that might be interesting. I think VCs are skeptical of just panoramic
Oh,
apps
yeah,
because
yeah.
you can't see how you're going to make money there.
it's been ignored so much because if you look at like travel as an industry, huge industry, right? It's ruled by three companies, right? Sabre, Expedia, and what's the other one? Priceline.
Yeah.
These are the three companies. Each of them is like 30 billion, $40 billion companies. And if you look at their websites and their reviews, and it's just horrible. I don't know if you have
Yeah.
if you use them,
Oh yeah.
right? And nobody goes there because they just own the market, right? And so our take is that if you provide a service that is compelling enough for people to come in and use that visual information for it may not be actual decision making, but for something,
Yeah.
then we could eat a small piece of that share.
Very cool.
Yeah.
What's the best Android phone right now? Since you probably have to test on a bunch of them.
Yeah, I think the S2 is pretty good.
Yeah.
The S2 is.
You haven't seen the Nexus Prime yet?
No, I've not seen the Nexus Prime, so I don't know. But
Yeah.
the S2 is quite good. I think it's.
Yeah, that stood up pretty well to the new iPhone 4S. I was doing a bunch of camera tests with both.
I saw those, yeah.
And the iPhone 4S is a little bit better in some things, but the Nexus, the Galaxy S2 was better in other things. So it stood up to it pretty well.
Yeah,
I was pretty
S2 is a
impressed
pretty
with
good
it.
phone. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think the display is really very nice. The Super AMOLED thing.
Yeah.
It's pretty impressive.
Cool.
Yeah.
So what else is going on in the Android iPhone or Android photography world?
I think the new sandwich thing is pretty interesting. I think they have
ICS, everybody calls it, or
ICS. I mean,
that's the new OS.
Yes, it's not game changing in any sense. I mean, if you look at the previous releases, like I think sandwich is a little bit more pushed faster than it should have been because it's just been 6 months since Honeycomb, right?
Yeah.
And so it's not game changing in any way, but I think the camera application in general is been revamped completely. It was one of the worst applications on Android at that time. We literally had to write our own app from scratch so that it could work on phones. So yeah, so we've done a lot of work for it to work on these Android phones. But now with their ICS, it's much easier. But the problem is by the time ICS sort of trickles down, things are going to change a lot.
Yeah.
So
it takes what, months, right? For
more than months, because Honeycomb just came out. Like you have your tablets that are just the shipping with Honeycomb, and now you're suddenly saying the ice cream sandwich. I think you're going to have devices start shipping till 6 months, and then you have another 6 months for it to start trickling down. By then they already have 2 other new releases. Yeah. So it's very difficult. It's very difficult for developers to keep up with that speed and even keep up with like OEMs. I don't know how they keep it up, but they do.
Yeah.
Because it's difficult to release a phone every time these guys change the entire thing. So
yeah. Where do we learn more about what you guys are doing?
You can go to teleportme.com,
Yeah.
or you could just download the Android app it's just named as 360. You can just download that. Yeah, that's where you can find us.
Very cool. Yeah, let's go outside and do some tests.
All right, man.
Thanks.
So basically, the things that sort of we have improved from last time is one is we have the portrait mode.
Yep.
So you can actually take the panorama in the portrait mode.
So we're out front of my house, right? And we're gonna take a panoramic, right?
All right. Yep.
So you just hold the camera like that, and you're using the 360 app.
Yep.
Cool. Let me just zoom in a little bit.
Let me see if this works.
Cool. And it just captures frames as you move along like that, right? And does it tell you how fast you can move, or?
Yeah, I mean it does tell you, but even if you go faster, it does not matter. It just keeps taking. If you go slower, obviously it's the better thing.
So when you see that pause sign, you're going too fast for it, or?
You're supposed to pause, but there are 2 modes. So there is a quality mode, which is the pausing part, and then you have the normal mode, which you don't need to pause on.
Right.
Right. So I think let's stop it at that part.
Okay.
And then it stitches the panorama. This would take some time, but
yeah.
So the reason why it's not automatic the way it's there in the iPhone is because we had to optimize it for every phone, so we couldn't do any background stitching. But now, I think about a month back, Google announced this multi-APK thing where you could have different APKs for different phones. So the next step is for higher end phones to have the one that just automatically does it, um, and then the lower end phones just stitch it after you take
Yeah.
them.
Of all the Android phones, does this work on all of them or most of them?
300 of them, 384. Yeah.
Did you have to test them on all that?
We didn't, but what we do is through the market, we have a list of phones that people are using, and then we have sort of an index that tells us whether they're getting good panoramas or no, and then we just figure out how many, we're getting good panoramas. I mean, that's a struggle again, right? So finding more and more phones to test with, that's ridiculous. All right,
Yep.
so that's the,
And you can just figure through it, right?
yeah, so,
Yeah, nice.
yeah. I didn't take a complete 360, but,
Okay.
yeah, so, and then you could sort of,
Now sometimes you see a stitch error or something.
yeah,
like
so
that.
this is not a stitch error, it's a color
Yep.
problem. So that we are fixing. Um, Again, that is a function of being able to optimize on a smaller phone, and like that would not come on a lower end phone because the quality of image itself is so bad that you would not figure out what the color difference is. So
Very cool.
yeah.
Well, thanks for showing it to me.
All right.
And
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot.
good luck.
All right.
Thanks.